I'm proud that we have such a great event here in Italy.
Great to see you here. I'll let you get back to your videos. Don't miss any.
Thank you.
There we go. Great to chat with 3 Premier League greats, guys.
Yeah, awesome work, Jack. Brilliant stuff down there on the grid. It sounds like, as far as Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and David Bentley concerned, this won't be their last visit to the MotoGP World Championship. What a race they picked to come to. What a day they picked to experience MotoGP for the first time, witnessing trackside the top speed record broken here today. Great to welcome some of our Premier League greats onto the grid. Marquez then, 4th, a 1:44.294 from the Spaniard. That's the fastest lap Mark's ever set around Mugello, but still not good enough to topple the trio of Aprilias ahead of him. But you can't discount Mark, can you? You just can't discount him out of contention. 17 sprint wins to his name so far in his career.
Raul Fernandez makes his way to the front row of the grid. Love to know what's going through his mind right now as he gets set for this sprint in between the 2 factory Aprilia riders, who he must be mindful of staying out of the way of in this sprint. But of course Fernandez himself will be targeting his first ever gold medal today.
Bit of work to do from that 3rd row of the grid for Fabio Di Gianantonio and Frankie Morbidelli. Digi's had the pace, no question. He was superb throughout practice, but tough coming from 7th place on the grid. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Pablo Nieto, Jack.
Yeah, I imagine Fabio probably the most disappointed of anybody from qualifying this morning. Just to reflect on qualifying, Pablo, we saw that he had to go out on his number 2 machine. Often the feeling between 1 and 2 can be a bit different. How much of an impact did that play on what we saw from Fabio?
Yeah, always, you know, you have your favorite bike. But anyway, I think we are making a very good weekend. We know that it's very, very important, the start and the qualifying. And unfortunately, we are in 3rd row, no? But anyway, I think we are working very, very good. We have the pace, the rhythm. This track is one of the tracks that maybe you can make some overtakes and then try to make some risks in the first part of the race.
Fastest in all 3 practice sessions was Fabio. Going into qualifying, he was, I'm sure, hoping of fighting for the victory. Is that still possible from row 3?
It's going to be difficult, very difficult, but you never know. Maybe one of the tracks that maybe you can make something like that is this one. So I'm still believe. So it's very important. The rider, it's important that he still believes that maybe he can do it. Very, very hard, but we will do our best.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. I'll let Lewis run through the grid. Interesting tyre choice from the starting run in second, Lewis.
Yes, Raul Fernandez, the information was that he's gone for the medium rear tyre there. Let's see if that changes over the course of the next 15 minutes. It's an all Aprilia front row, as you mentioned, all Ducati second row, Di Gianantonio, Moreira and Morbidelli together on row 3. Then we have Acosta and Bastianini on the first of the KTMs, and Alex Rins on the first of the Yamahas. Ayagura missed out in Q1. He's 13th ahead of Brad Binder and Cuan Mir. Marini 16th ahead of Jack Miller and Fabio Quartararo. Not a good weekend for the Frenchman on board the Yamaha. Maverick Vinales, Toprak Razgatioglu and Michele Pirro on row 7, and completing the grid, the second sprint experience after Motegi 2023 for Cal Crutchlow.
Yeah, you just mentioned what a chastening weekend it's been so far for Yamaha, in particular Fabio Quartararo, his lowest qualifying in 32 Grand Prix since he was deep on the grid at Phillip Island back in 2024. Not helped yesterday by a crash at turn 4, and certainly not helped by the fact that his new V4 powered M1 is grossly underpowered for the second longest straight on the Grand Prix calendar. Trying to keep himself cool. It is pretty hot down on this grid here in the Tuscany Mountains, and you can see off in the distance clear blue skies, but it's pole position number 11 for Marco Bezzecchi. His teammate, he'll be aware, Jorge Martin is the undisputed sprint king in MotoGP. Great to see Marco Melandri, 2002 250cc world champion, down on the grid. But let's go and get some thoughts from Klaus Noles, Diego Moreira's crew chief. What a performance so far by the Brazilian. What can he do in the sprint of the Grand Prix tomorrow? Yeah,
what a weekend it's been. Into Q2 for the very first time. Now 3rd row of the grid for the rookie Klaus. What are the hopes and expectations here? I imagine whatever he can come back with will be a great reward.
Yes, first of all, yes, we just want to take this experience. It's the first time that he's going to start, let's say, more in the middle, try to follow, let's say, more the front group. Yeah, the key is just to take the maximum out of this experience, keep learning, and yes, try to enjoy the race, because until now we always had to fight very hard from the first laps. Now we hope to have a decent rhythm, and yeah, we just keep the thing step by step.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, no question, he has got decent rhythm. He's been fast all weekend so far, has Diogo Moreira. Just seeking a bit of sanctuary from the blazing sunshine. Our close friends, Marc Marquez, fourth on the grid. Well, they're close to each other on the deck chairs, aren't they, at the moment? They're close to each other on the grid as well, fourth and fifth respectively. Best qualifying in 9 since his Mandalika success for the 21-year-old Spaniard Fermin Aldeguer. What at the moment is going through the mind of Cal Crutchlow? He would not have imagined being back in this high-pressure, nervy situation. I mean, he's been here so often, the 40-year-old Brit now, ahead of what is going to be his 180th Grand Prix start. He has done one sprint previously. He was on the sprint grid in Japan back in 2023, but yeah, by his rival standards, Cal's a bit of a sprint novice, isn't he? But he's done a pretty impressive job replacing the injured Johan Zarco. He was a second quicker this morning in qualifying than he managed yesterday. Zero expectations on the shoulders of Cal, enjoy himself, bring the bike home, and yeah, help LCR celebrate their 30th anniversary weekend here in Mugello.
Yeah, you might have noticed with the leathers there, you'll see further when we get a look at the bike, a special livery to mark that occasion for Cal Crutchlow. This was after the session had finished, after the checkered flag came out in qualifying 1 earlier on today. Toprak Razgatlioglu almost looked like he was performing a bit of a stoppie there, didn't it, on the way into the final corner into pit lane, and made a complete mess of his M1 Yamaha.
He'd just done a practice start. He'd done a practice start which he was perfectly entitled to do on the exit beyond Eddy 2. And maybe that's just saw a whole bunch of temperature drop out of the tyres, maybe the brakes as well as limbering up. Just going through, I'm sure, his pre-prepped exercises under doctor's instructions with that recovering right shoulder is Marc Marquez. Off camera now. Let's go and get some thoughts out from the boss. The 2 factory Ducatis on the second row, 4th and 6th respectively. Davide Tarlozzi with Jack.
Yeah, and as you guys said, no Ducati on the front row of the grid here at Mugello for the first time in 15 years, Davide. I mean, that must hurt around here of all places.
Yeah, it's a shame who's in front row, he deserved it because he was very fast. We'll see what it could be the race. I think that if Aprilia's lead on the first lap, it will be very difficult for us to overtake them, but we'll see. You know, in racing everything is possible.
We saw you pleading with Marc before qualifying to be calm, to ride within himself, and he ended up as the fastest Ducati. I guess him fighting his instincts is normally a lot harder than he imagines.
I think that Marc has the fastest lap possibility, but very difficult for him to be fast all the race. So we took this race and probably next one as a train, and then I'm confident that from Renault it will be 100%.
And just finally on Pecco, he has the pace. That first lap, I guess, is going to be so important.
I think, as I said, that if Pecco is closer to the top guys from the beginning, he could have a good race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Davide Tarlozzi. I mean, no Ducati has lapped Mugello faster than what Marc Marquez produced this morning. That 1:44.294, the best ever lap by a Ducati around Mugello. But on current Aprilia form, it's just simply not good enough. Not fast enough as we look once again at Ralf Fernandez. 4th he was in the sprint in Catalonia a couple of weeks ago. That was only the 8th time in 65 sprints he's been inside the top 6. Going to be keeping a close eye, aren't we, on Fernandez and that rear tyre choice. There's Laura Bezzecchi then. That's a brilliant shot, keeping her brother cool under the umbrella. Now then, there's going to be big hopes of a Trackhouse medal at the end of the sprint with Ralf Fernandez on the front row. Igor's got good race pace as well, but he's 30. Let's get the thoughts of their boss, Davide Brivio with Jack.
Davide, brilliant job by Raul this morning to get himself onto the front row. How much will Barcelona be in the back of his mind here, knowing that he's got Jorge to his left and Marco to his right?
I don't think it's anything different. I mean, there's been a lot of talking about this meeting, but we just say to the rider, just respect each other. What happened in Barcelona is that at the end of the day, Raul and Jorge both lost a lot of points and lost a missed opportunity. So something, I mean, it's not smart that happened, so we have to try to avoid that, at least between us. Then, of course, we know with the other competitor, the competition is hard, but at least between us, let's try to make it smooth. But then, honestly speaking, then they ride in a bike. They are on a bike, and I cannot guarantee that everything will be under control. But at least, I mean, you try to control and to, let's say, give an invitation to respect.
When the visor goes down, we know that it's a different game out there. Good luck, Davide.
Thank you. We need.
Precisely, Jack. Precisely. Yeah, you can have as many meetings, you can have as many discussions as you want behind the scenes to try and hammer home and drill into your riders. You can race hard, guys, but we expect it to be done with full and total respect. But it is a completely different ball game. Once that visor closes, once it revs up and the heart's pumping down the start finish right here in Mugello at over 360 kilometers an hour, well, anything can happen in MotoGP, and it so often does.
Yeah, I think it just underlines what an opportunity Aprilia realise they've got this year, that they're so desperate to try and stage manage this as best they can and maximise the points. But ultimately, when there's so much on the line for Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin fighting for World Championship, and who knows, Ralph Fernandez potentially fighting for his MotoGP future, they've got to be empowered to ride their own races. Of course, you don't want to see two of your own riders take each other off, but surely they've got to go for it.
What was the famous Ayrton Senna line? If you're
no longer go for a gap, you're not a racer.
Exactly, and that's what Ralph Fernandez would have been telling everybody in that incident at Turn 5 in Barcelona. Well, this is all part of the getting himself back to what he hopes will be peak 100% physical best. He'd have talked about this with the doctors, with his medics and with his physio team to get himself limbered up, stretch the ligaments, stretch the tendons, keep the muscles warm, and just get yourself as limbered up as you possibly can for the 11-lap sprint. It'd be a tough Italian Grand Prix tomorrow for Marc Marquez. 23 laps, and it's excruciating heat, and it's one of the most physical tracks on the Grand Prix calendar. Well, what a Saturday it's been so far for Aprilia. Although we're certainly hoping it's going to get better and better with the lockout of the front row of the grid. Let's get the thoughts of their boss, Paolo Bonora, with Jack.
Yeah, what a view this is, Paolo, as we stand alongside Jorge Martin. Aprilia's third, second and first across this front row of the grid, here in Mugello as well. Quite some sight.
Unbelievable result, Jack. For sure, it was, as I told you, fully unexpected, to be honest, because here we didn't score many podiums or did something very special in the past. But to be honest, the bike is quite different compared to the last one. But for sure, during the qualifying, the time attack, most of the job was done by them. So congrats to our riders.
In terms of the dream that it is right now, it could be a nightmare if the words that you uttered to us yesterday are to come into effect. Total respect is what you asked for. Have you had to have a final word with the guys?
No. It was enough, as you correctly said. On Thursday we say only respect, total respect. Respect on the brand, for sure, it is the main goal. And everybody agrees in a very clear way. So it was enough. No words more than this. Good luck. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Aprilia boss Paolo Bonora. Probably pinching himself right now, isn't he? Fresh, recently off their historic first ever lockout of the podium in the French Grand Prix at Le Mans. Fast forward a couple of Grand Prix, and now they're in uncharted territory once again, having locked out the top three on the grid. Well, Jorge Martin has already set a new top speed record. Well, this is interesting because our latest information was that Ralph Fernandez had indeed decided to be the only rider to be on the medium rear tyre. As we can see from that graphic, Lewis, there has been a late change, and a significant one at that.
For Jorge Martin, and it worked out nicely for him in the sprint in Austin, didn't it, when he chased down Pecco Bagnaia on the final lap to win the sprint. Makes it even more interesting to find out if Marco Bezzecchi is also going to make that change, or whether he is going to stick to his guns, and he'll need to make a good start if he is going with the soft rear tyre. That will give him the benefit in the early stages of the sprint, but could potentially see him fall into the clutches of Fernandez and Martin in the latter stage. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, track temperature has rocketed to 44 degrees. Hottest condition of the weekend so far by a mile, and surely that has influenced the choice of both Fernandez and Martin on that front row. Well, we've already known for quite some time that Brazil has a new motorsport superstar in the making, and confirming that has been Diogo Moreira here this weekend. 10th yesterday to get himself into Q2 for the first time. He went a couple of places better this morning in that decisive second qualifying session. What a performance that was, a 144.634 from Moreira. He's in the middle of that third row of the grid. You feel for Fabio Di Giannantonio this morning, because at the end of FP2 he had one of his GP26s have a mechanical failure. It put him under the cosh in qualifying. He went into Q2 with just the one bike and then hit a bit of traffic as well late on. So you don't feel like we've really seen the best of Fabio Di Giannantonio on this second day here in Mugello. So for the first time then in MotoGP history, we're talking about 3 Aprilias on the front row of the grid. We're talking about Jorge Martin, top speed record holder now in MotoGP. Ralph Fernandez on the front row of the grid for the 5th time in his MotoGP career. But on pole position, what a weekend it has been so far for the home crowd hero. Can Marco Bezzecchi now sprint to success for Aprilia in Mugello from pole position? It has already been a sensational sprint Saturday here in Mugello. It has already been a record-breaking sprint Saturday here in Mugello, and for the very first time in their history, what a place to do it as well in front of their home crowd. On Italian soil, Aprilia have 3 bikes firing away from the front row of the grid. World Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi, whatever happens in this upcoming 11-lap Tissot sprint here in Mugello, Bez will go into tomorrow's Brembo Grand Prix of Italy as the World Championship leader. He's desperate, though, to boost and bolster his 15-point advantage over teammate Jorge Martin. Martin chasing a record 19th sprint success, going from the front row of the grid for the first time in his Aprilia career. Do not discount Ralph Fernandez on the Trackhouse Aprilia. He completes that all-Noale lockout of the front row. And it's all eyes on row 2. Marc Marquez trying to win his 18th sprint rather of his Grand Prix career. Pecco Bagnaia so far this season, well, he's knocked on the door of sprint success. 2nd in Austin, 2nd in Jerez, 2nd in Le Mans. Are we going to see Bagnaia continue Ducati's brilliant form in sprints here in Mugello? They are undefeated, the Borgo Panigale brand. Their headquarters about an hour's drive away as you roll through the Tuscany mountains onto the outskirts of nearby Bologna. But the tale of sprint Saturday so far has been owned by Aprilia. Marco Bezzecchi then is the outlier on that front row of the grid. We knew Ralph Fernandez, he came to the grid with the medium rear tyre. There was a late change for 2024 world champion Jorge Martin. First time in 15 years, no Ducati is on the front row of the grid. So far this season, sprint Saturdays have delivered some stunning action. 3 of our closest top 10 finishes in sprint history have already come so far this season in Buriram, in Goiânia, and of course last time out in Catalonia in what was our 67th edition of the Tissot sprint format. We had our closest ever finish, just under 500th of a second dividing Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta at the checker flag. Only the 2nd sprint ever to be decided by less than a 10th of a second. We'd love more of the same here this afternoon. The Italian fans would love more of the same, and they'd be loving it as well if Marco Bezzecchi was to hold off the Spanish armada behind him on that front row. Ralph Fernandez, Jorge Martin, Marc Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer, 4 Spaniards honing in on Bez on that pole position. 11 laps then it is of this magnificent Mugello. 5.245 kilometres, 3.259 miles of some of the best tarmac you will ever find on planet Earth. 368.6 kilometres an hour Jorge Martin set a new top speed record this morning. All eyes on those Aprilias on the front row of the grid. They have been told that they can race hard, they can race aggressive, but it has to be fair, it has to be clean, it has to be done with respect. But now it's time for racing. Visors down, revs up, lights out, and we're racing in the sprint here then in the Grand Prix of Italy in Mugello. It's a brilliant start by Marc Marquez on the factory Ducati. He's already going to threaten to split the Aprilias on the run down to the first corner. Going the long way. Look at Marquez. How late is he braking on the factory Ducati? He's going to lead. He's passed all the Aprilias. He got a great start. Super late on the brakes. And Marquez leads from fourth.
And Marco Bezzecchi was just way too cautious. Look at Moreira up in fourth place on the LCR Honda. Ralph Fernandez carves up the inside of Marc Marquez. Martin also through. The Aprilia's fighting back.
Yeah, pushing and shoving already. Moreira fancying an attack now on Marquez into turn 4 and 5, and he's made it through. This is lovely by Moreira up into P3. He's gained 5 places already as he dropped now down through Casanova and Svelli for the first time. Magic from Moreira in Mugello.
Di Gianantonio's getting ground. Bagnaya's had a shocker. He's down to 9th place. So that's Di Gianantonio up the inside of Marco Bezzecchi. The pole starter's back to P6 now.
That's an early nightmare for Bez from that dream pole position. And look at Ralph Fernandez. Top 2 then, the only 2 in this grid, on this grid that have the medium rear tyre fitted, and Ralph Fernandez already trying to break away. Down we go into Scarperia for the first time. He was almost 3.5 tenths clear of Martin through split 2.
Yeah, I'd like to get a look at that first corner again, because Bez had the inside line as they were going 3 wide into turn 1, just braked I think too early and got absolutely swamped. Now Marc Marquez loses another one, clearly understandably cautious on this first lap after initially taking the lead. Now Di Gianantonio has passed it.
Bagnaia is down in 11th place. He's done an absolute horror show at the start of this sprint. It was Moreira who's made the big forward move, and going the wrong way, the opposite way, has been Bagnaia. Trying to show his front wheel to Marquez. Into the final corner goes Bezzecchi. Now he's going to rely on some slipstream and some of that famed poke from the factory. Probably the fastest motorcycling Grand Prix history. Well, Bez needs all of that 300 horsepower right now, doesn't he? Lap one in the box then. Ralph Fernandez that leads.
Aldeguer's taken Bastianini behind that for 8, as Marc Marquez is actually going on the attack down the main straight. He's coming back past Di Gianantonio. So Marc Marquez sideways into turn 1. He's going to struggle to get that one. Stops, and Digia retakes it.
Yeah, you're decelerating speed there. One of KTM's has gone wide into the first corner as well. You're scrubbing off almost 300 kilometres an hour in about 250 metres or so on that run down to San Donato. Pecco Bagnaia was briefly back inside the top 10. He did briefly get ahead of Iagura, but once again he's been pushed back down into P11, so he lost 5 places on that first lap. So too did Marco Bezzecchi. Frankie Morbidelli was a big loser on the 8th lap as well. He lost 7 spots. Moreira, as mentioned, was the big winner.
Costa was the KTM that went wide into San Donato. He's now back to 9th place, lost the place to Bastianini, but well, it's a mouthwatering prospect, isn't it? The 2 riders on the medium rear tyre, the 2 riders who ran into each other on more than one occasion in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, the 2 riders who came together and triggered that meeting in Aprilia on Thursday. It's Ralph Fernandez versus Jorge Martin.
Scrapping, fighting for his MotoGP future right now is Fernandez. He's under big threat. Lots of talk about Nicolo Buliga potentially swooping in and taking his seat in Trackhouse Aprilia next year. A first sprint victory will be all.
Just at the back of the picture, who's trying to close in on this trio that we're riding on board with. This is Acosta looking ahead at Bastianini, and ahead of him is Aldeguer as the Gian Antonio now into Arrabbiata 1, does get the move done on Diogo.
A long lap loop. Feeding on the throttle there, Pedro Acosta.
You feel like he's been held up a little bit, but it's hard to pass around here. Especially with he'll probably do the block into Arrabbiata 1 here. A little bit faster through this part and do the block pass. No, he hasn't been able to do it.
Not on an air, that's the thing, on the same bike. But there's no slouch,
I was going to say that. You think of Bastianini, around this track especially. Yeah, I mean, he knows all the secrets.
He's at one podium, it was when he was with the Ducati factory man a couple of years ago.
Oh,
down he goes.
There you go. That's why it's hard to pass someone, because they're on the absolute limit. Bastianini, though, braking on the curb, then coming back on to the racing line. It looked like it backed in a bit too much on the curbs. Watch this, look, it backs there, and then as it gets back onto the tarmac, gains traction, overloads the front.
Exactly that. Frankie Morbidelli has also gone down in that incident, but yeah, as he came back onto the track, rear hooked up, pushed the front, down he went. Now Marc Marquez lining up Diogo Moreira.
Yeah, we're about the moment of the race where Marquez starts to warm up a little bit. That older body, that injured, bruised, battered 33-year-old body starts to feel a bit more natural.
Here we go. They train together, these two. So Moreira will be no stranger to trying to keep Marc Marquez at bay. Marquez goes a little bit deeper there to avoid Moreira, just run it a bit wide.
It's funny you say they train together, they train together, and this will be the view that Marc Marquez has a lot, because they do a lot of dirt track, and we know Diogo Moreira is officially one of, if not the best in the world at that. So,
well, he's definitely one of the best supermoto riders in the world. We knew that when he turned up at a World Championship Supermoto round and won it as a 17-year-old. So Marc has the work to do again. At the front, I'll remind you, Fernandez, there he is, right on cue, leads by 3/4 of a second, 0.9 now. Over Jorge Martin.
Unreal.
Could this be...
Didn't see this coming.
No.
Did not see this coming.
He was talking up his own chances, saying that something's changed in that test.
We all said, though, didn't we? And I'm talking a few years ago, if this young man starts to believe he's got that sort of... We know he's got the raw talent. We actually didn't think he had the... almost the patience to work out MotoGP. A little bit impatient in the KTM years.
Fiery, isn't he?
Fiery, yeah, exactly. Had some issues with teams and, let's say, his entourage, which was huge, by the way. But don't you feel like Davide Brivio, as team manager, has played a huge part in the growth of Raul Fernandez? Don't get me wrong, it does help when you're on a bike that's working well, and it really certainly is.
Yeah, and at the start of the year, when Agura starts making moves forward, you're thinking, oh, has he got a slot there still, that track out? Because you felt like one of them might be on their way out, but now Agura's on his way. Looks like Fernandez will stick there for the continuity, but without Brivio, of course. Now, Marquez going the high line over Moreira. He's got to run wide.
Really wide, but look,
Moreira's followed it.
Luckily for him, it sort of dragged Moreira right wide, which can happen with all the aero as well. At the end of that straight, over 220 miles an hour. Aldeguer's coming, closing in quite fast, actually.
Another one who gets quicker as the race goes on. This was the start. Watch the front tyre go down, puff of smoke. There you just saw it.
And then straight to the inside.
This was amazing. Look at Martin on the outside, on the curbs. Wow.
Yeah.
That's why he probably had to roll out of it. But Mark fishtailing had to make his presence felt, didn't he? Came through to lead, and then it was up at turn 3 that Fernandez took the lead. Look at Agura here,
trying to pick a pocket up the inside of Bastianini.
4 wide.
Yeah.
One on the outside there. Firmino Aldeguer coming off worse. He's had the last lap because he's that group is ahead of them all. Aldeguer 7th, Costa 8th, Bagnaia into the points now in 9th after that crash from Bastianini.
Yeah, these two circulating at pretty much the same lap time. Gaps out of second. You feel like Fernandez needs one more really good lap. 5 laps to go. If you can just get the gap up to about 1.2, 1.3. Once it gets inside a second, you start to feel the tension, feel the pressure from the rider behind you. And when you see who it is on your pit board, you'll be well aware it's Jorge Martin. Like I said, no love lost between these two.
Not after Barcelona anyway. 4 laps to go. Fernandez leads Martin. Martin was quicker by a 10th. Do you know who's even quicker still was Di Gianantonio. The problem is Digi is 1.6 behind Jorge Martin, and it's going to be a lonely ride to third unless something dramatic happens. The lead riders are on the medium. I don't think it's going to. Pecco Bagnaia in the final point scoring position, but closing in, he was closing in quite quickly on Acosta. Now Agura behind him, and Agura quicker than everyone in front of him up to Bezecchi.
It's a strange one.
Joan Mir being forced to retire. Is that wing? Is that front wing at a funny angle, as in the one by the tyre? I don't know if there's been some sort of contact there for Juan. You know, the forward wing, that's wide.
Really wide.
There's a mistake.
There's a couple of tenths there, I'd say. On your leader, easy to do.
Down into Scarperia, it's where we find Moreira trying to hold off Aldeguer. So Marquez is out of the clutches now of Moreira. He drops back towards Aldeguer. It's a great ride, whatever happens here, from Diogo Moreira.
Aldeguer's got the run. Yeah, again, it's classic. Is he going to go a bit wide? No. Pulls it down.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a race on our hands, Gav.
3 to go, and the gap across the line now, less than half a second. 3/10 quicker on that lap. Martin versus Fernandez.
And there's not a better feeling when you're chasing someone down and you're seeing the odd mistake, 1 or 2 little mistakes.
And you've got a score to settle. I expect if he comes through...
They both think they've got a score to settle because... So neither party are playing any responsibility for the collision.
They were told before the weekend.
Respect each other.
Respect. Above all, respect from Bonora on the right-hand side and Rivola on the left there. So, Digi 1.8, that's going to be third at best for him. Ekes out another 10th there in the second split.
Fernandez, every lap pulls a 10th or 2.
Now, but this is where he had the moment.
Exactly.
Last lap.
That looks much tidier. Yeah, perfect line.
Has he got the sun quiet here to hold firm, Ralph Fernandez. Can he maintain this gap over Jorge Martin to the line? Next up, the Beyond ETS is very fast through here. Full commitment. Using a lot of inside curb there. That's brave. Seen people come a cropper on those curbs over the years. And he has just eked out another 10th through there, Neil. Back to 0.6 now. This was Acosta on Moreira.
Yeah, came from a long way back with Pedro, did well to get it stopped.
Up to 7.
Pretty identical at the front.
You know, in that last corner, Martin
He's good through there,
takes another 10th
Yeah,
out
he
of
does.
him. Yeah, it's one corner. So, Pecco Bagnaia now on Acosta. He's got through on Moreira. It'd be a bit cruel, this, for Moreira to not score a point. Having run right up there in the early stages, but that puts him back to 10. And outside of the sprint points.
And he hasn't done a lot wrong.
No.
It's
Just
the
one
truth.
of those where he almost got past. His rhythm's just been upset ever so slightly. His pace has dropped. He's shot his shot, and unfortunately, it's not going to be. But he will emerge from this race with a lot of credit.
Yeah, much more experience. So there we go, a lap and a half to go. That's literally just yo-yoing by it, just a 10. He's one mistake away, Ralph Fernandez. Oh, this man. Letting the brake off.
He's looking
Looks good.
good, doesn't he? The last
Really good.
couple.
Looks good.
Ralph Fernandez, he took this race by the scruff of its neck. Passing Marc Marquez early on.
That was a proper move. Block pass into 3.
On Marc Marquez, Jorge Martin was there as well. That was a brave one. Martin came through at the same time, opportunistic. He's done it again in that third split. Pulled another 10,
Yeah,
put 8 the gap.
But this is where Martin gets it back. So it's 0.8 now. Let's see what it is over the line.
Could be crucial. Any mistakes here from Ralph Fernandez? Jorge Martin ready to pounce across the line. The gap, he doesn't pick as much up.
No,
he was 3/10 quicker than Martin on that last lap. Ralph Fernandez could be in line to win his first sprint race here.
Look how fast this Ducati is compared to the KTM. I mean, that's ridiculous, the difference.
On the brakes, 2 demons.
That was close. So close between them.
Ayagura's there waiting to pick up the pieces. Oh, Bagnaia just knows Mugello so well, doesn't he?
He's so right.
That was just...
Get ready though, Pedro's going to have a go at squaring him off, but the problem is then you end up on the wrong side for the next corner.
That was classic Mugello, wasn't it? A bit deeper down in San Donato, but then knowing that he could get a little bit of extra squirt up the hill. Good from Bagnaia. Up to 7th, Acosta drops back to 8th. Oh, here we go, Agura on Acosta. Oh, a bit cleaner than last time. Pedro not able
Lovely move,
to squeeze back in
that
front.
was some move from Ayagura there.
That's using the superior turning of the Aprilia compared to the KTM.
That was, yeah, absolutely. Totally precise, like you say, unlike Barcelona last corner.
Which he said, I am embarrassed about.
Hey, he had a go. It was one of them.
But he was very contrite, you have to say, afterwards. His teammate, meanwhile,
well,
absolutely brilliant.
Shocked me. What a ride. What a performance.
Rub of the hands from Paco Sanchez, his manager. Everyone else down there still looking a bit nervous, but they needn't be, because Ralph Fernandez took the gamble on the medium tyre, as did Jorge Martin. They're going to finish 1 and 2 for Aprilia, but it's the Trackhouse satellite bike and Ralph Fernandez who wins a sprint race for the very first time here in Italy, in Mugello. What a win for the Trackhouse Aprilia squad. Jorge Martin is 2nd, the Spanish 1 and 2. Fabio Di Gianantonio rounds out the podium in 3rd. Marco Bezzecchi is 4th, with Marc Marquez rounding out the top 5. Another no podium for Bezzecchi in the sprint format. Aldeguer, Bagnaia, Agura and Acosta round out the point scoring positions. But what about that ride from Raul?
Yeah, that's as good as I've seen. Really as good as I've seen. Oh, I'm pleased for him. I am. He's grown up, hasn't he? He felt like he needed to a little bit, but he did burst onto the scene. Wasn't stunning straight away in Moto3, then it clicked. and he started winning, moved straight to Moto 2, and what a rookie season. Was it eight wins? 8 race wins in his rookie season in Moto 2. So impressive that KTM signed him, and then it all started to go wrong, and we all questioned his ability, his level, and I think he questioned himself quite a lot.
Yeah,
it's been a long road, but it's we're now seeing the full potential of Raul Fernandez, and it's a pleasure to watch.
Raul,
it's a class ride.
Is the real deal here in Italy, here in Mugello. The flares go off, and when we come back from the break, we'll hear from our podium finishers and all the analysis of that sprint race here at Mugello.
Brace yourself for a season to shout about, because on HBO Max, summer just got bigger.
This is what we want to see.
When elite sport meets blockbuster entertainment, you'll be jumping out of your seat.
I understand. How can you not love this place?
All the drama, all the big names in one place. Wow. Summer will never be the same again.